Hello fellow Dark Role players, my name is Philippusta and welcome to this new series where I'm gonna show you how to make some useful Wiremod contraptions for your Dark Roleplay experience. Today we're gonna be making a Wiremod proximity door that opens for you or your friends when you go close to it. I'm very new to this, so excuse for my stuttering and word mishaps. So let's get started. The first thing you're gonna need is of course a suitable place for your door. Now I'm a gun dealer and this is the gun shop, so I'm gonna place my door here so no one can enter if I don't want them to. Now the next thing you wanna do is get a suitable prop to use as your fading door. Now this one is very nice, it fits right in here and yeah, that's perfect. So I am just going to weld it to the world. I'm using Smart Snap for these grids. It's really nice add-on. And I'm just gonna place the door where it's supposed to be. So this is the prop we're gonna use for our fading door. Now, of course, you want to turn this into an actual fading door. So you wanna get your fading door tool. This is different from server to server. Some servers use a different fading door plugin tool, and other servers use different ones. This one is really nice and simple and is on most servers I've experienced. Of course, if your server doesn't have fading door, you can do this with a regular door tool or something else. I'm sure you can come up with something. Now for the settings, we don't want it to be start faded. We want to untick that. We don't want it to toggle. And the no effect thing doesn't really matter. I like to have it on because I think it looks clumsy when you see the sort of ghosting when the door's faded. For the key, normally you would have it say enter or some other num key. But if you double right click, it's going to set it to none. This is going to leave out some extra num key space, keypad space, for you to use for other applications. So we're going to turn the prop into a fading door. There we go. Now, let's get to the Wiremod part. Go to your wire section in the queue menu. Of course, this requires the server to have Wiremod. There's no point in this otherwise. I'm using the latest version of Wiremod. You can use some older ones. They have pretty much the same features. This just allows me to put a lot of the tools, my favorite tools, into a favorites folder. So these are just easily accessible. You can find these in the other folders. Just go look them up. They're really easy to find. I'd recommend having a favorites folder. Now, the first thing you want is a target finder. This is gonna tune in on a certain player from the server or something else. It can also tune into props on the vehicles and other things. And this is basically gonna allow us to tune in to target you or your friends. So for the settings, we want to untick everything except for the target players. You want the minimum range to be 0, the maximum range to just be 10,000 or some really high number, doesn't really matter. And this maximum targets 1, maximum boogies 1, and minimum range 0. I don't know why that's twice there actually, that's weird. Sorry. Now, if we place this down, it's going to target any player on the server because we just have target players on. So we want to filter out the players. This is what we're going to use the Steam ID filter for. You could use the name filter and put in your name, and it will only target players with that name. But the problem is, some douchebag could change their name to your name and they could easily open the door. So we don't want that. We want to use the Steam ID instead. Now this is of course not my Steam ID, this was just from another example I made. We want to get our own Steam ID. To get your Steam ID, you need to access the console by pressing F10 and type in status. This will give you a list of all the players on the server. This is only me because this is just an example server. And it will give you their name, their user ID and their unique ID and some other things. The unique ID is basically the Steam ID. So you want to copy paste this. Just copy it, go into the queue menu again to the target finder and paste this, the whole thing, Steam and all, into the Steam ID filter tab and press enter. This is going to filter out, so it's only players with that Steam ID, which is only you, who can be targeted by the target finder. Now, just for reference, because I didn't know how this worked, you cannot add more than one. So you can't do, say, dot and then another Steam ID, or just space and another Steam ID. That doesn't work. You can only have one, and it will only filter out that person. Excuse me for a second. I'm just gonna have a drink. Okay. What you want to do now is place down your target finder just somewhere close to the door. You can hide it, say, behind here if you want to, if you think it looks nasty. But it's just going to be easy if you place it right next to the door. Now this is going to say instantly going to say target acquired, because of course it's tuned into me. It has targeted me. Now this doesn't output any information, just the target itself as an entity. So we want something that can output and give us some information. That's where we're going to use the beacon sensor. The beacon sensor is going to allow us to take the target that the target finder has targeted, and get some information out of the target. So the settings here are only going to be output distance. This is going to output the distance of the target. Now you want to place your beacon sensor on top of the door, somewhere over your head, where you're going to access the door. I'm going to access it here in the middle for the most part. So I'm just going to place it in the middle and on the top here. Now to link these, you're just going to right click the beacon sensor with the beacon sensor tool out, and then right click the target finder. It'll give us a message there. Now as you see, this will track my distance. So if I go away from this, it'll give me a big distance, and if I go right up to the door, it'll give me a small one. And we need to actually read this distance, because we want to read the distance, how far you are away from the beacon sensor when you are right at the foot of the door. So just go right up to the door and read, and this says 96. Just add about 5 to this, and remember that number. I'm just going to say 100, that's nice and easy, and it should work for this example. We'll come to why you add that later. And I already have this set to 100. You want a constant value tool. Only one amount is just going to be set to 1. We just want one value, and that's going to be a number value. And just set that to the number you figured out. In this case, 100. You can set it to, say, you can add 10 and do 105, but that's going to change up how the door, well, not how the door works, but how the door reacts. Just place this down somewhere close to where it's suitable. So we have some distance and everything, but now we need to actually compare the distance to the constant value. So for this, we're gonna need a gate. So go to your gates tool, and we need a comparison gate called less or equal. Just plop that down. As you see there, it says A less than or equal to B equals 1. This is going to compare A and B. So if A is less than or equal to B, it's going to output 1. If B is greater than A, then it's going to output 0. So what we want is to compare the distance from the sensor to the constant value. So we want to do A to distance and B to the value. Now this will output 0 because the distance that the beacon sensor outputs is not less than 100. But if I go close to this, and now it's obviously less, it's a 96, it'll output 1. If I go away again, it'll output 0. Now we can use this with the fading door. So you would just want to wire fade to the out on the less or equal gate. And now what you got is actually a proximity door. I can go through it and it will close right behind me. And this is very precise. This is a very useful tool in Dark Roleplay. Of course, if you increase this value, it will increase the range at which the door opens. So if I were to increase this to 110, the door would already open around here. Now I don't want this as my example, because then of course thieves and other people can go right behind you and then also get in. In this case they'll only get stuck in the door, locked outside. Now there's a problem here. Most DarkRP servers, they require you to have keypads to be able to open your doors so people can steal your things, but that's really easy to add. What you want is of course the keypad, and you want the wire keypads, not the regular ones in tools. You want the wire ones. Now just set your password to whatever. I just have mine to 2. Most people don't know you can just have 1 digit, but it's very quick just to have 1 digit. Of course easier to crack, but people don't really try only 1 digit. Now of course in tick display asterisk so we can be secure. You just want to place 2 keypads, one outside and one inside, for you to be able to open the door. Now these of course they don't work yet, they're not wired up to anything. That's what we need to do now. But we have one problem. The fade input from the door only goes to the less or equal gate. We need also the keypads to be able to go to that gate. Now they can't, so we need to get another gate. So if you go to gates and logic and get the OR gate, what the OR gate does, it takes a lot of inputs, and if any of those inputs are 1, it will output 1. Let me show you. We're gonna wire the A input from the OR gate to the out from the less or equal gate, and the B from the first keypad to the first keypad, and the C of course to this second keypad. Now this will output this will output 1 if I'm within 100 distance, because it's wired up to the less gate who outputs 1. Now we want to actually rewire the fade from the door to the OR gate instead of the less than or equal gate. This way we can open the door using the keypads. This is really simple and very useful for you if you have friends or anything, and of course this won't get you banned because you aren't breaking any rules. This would just be equivalent to pressing the enter key on your your keyboard to open the door, just a lot easier and less time consuming. Now of course you might want to add your friends to this system for them to be able to enter the door. This is very easy, especially when you have set up the OR gate already. What you need is another set of a beacon sensor, a target finder, and a less gate. You want to place down another target finder, but this time you want to put in your friend's Steam ID. So say my friend's Steam ID is Cookie. Of course that's impossible, but I have no friends on this server. You just want to place that down next to the other one. Doesn't really matter where, I'm just going to place it here. This of course has no target because my friend is not on the server and his Steam ID isn't Cookie. What you also want is another beacon sensor with the same settings as the first one. And you want to place this right next to the first beacon sensor. And once again, you want to right click that and right click the new target finder for them to be linked. Now this will output a distance of 0 because the target is invalid because it doesn't exist. But of course when you're actually in game this will work properly. Now you need another comparison gate, another less than or equal gate, and just place that right next to the other one. That's fine. And once again we need to compare the distance to the constant value, so you do A to distance and B to the constant value. And to add this into the system, we just need to wire the D from the OR gate to the out on the less or equal gate. Now, of course the door opens because the distance is 0, which is under 100. And if your friend was actually on the server, this would work properly. But in this case, there is no friend. So, this was basically it. This is the proximity door. I'm just going to disable that so I can just walk through this. You can add however many target finders and friends you want. You can even add something like a button to control the door. Just add anything to the OR gate and it can control the door as well if you want any sort of intricate system. I hope this was useful, and I hope to see you next time.